All right, guys, so right now I want to talk to you about my deadlift and the basically the approach I like to take for training my deadlift to be higher in regards to preparing for contests, the frequency, the intensity that I use, and also the volume I use, and the accessories I use. Now this question was posed by Dutch_Italian_hybrid. What year is the mighty 1,000 pounds pull happening, Martins? So I'm definitely on my way there, that it's gonna be within the year. That's my, my estimate. The interesting thing about how I train deadlifts is I rarely train them. I mostly put my focus on training squats and Romanian deadlifts. Because if you look at the mechanics of a deadlift, it essentially is the bottom portion is a squat up until the bar reaches your knees, and then a Romanian deadlift to finish it off. So with those two motions, I'm already basically just getting my deadlift stronger without overloading my body too much. Because sometimes, at least in my opinion, I think it's too much to train to do too many of these big motions. Because if I'm training squats and deadlifts in the same week, it's somewhat redundant. So most of the year, I'm actually just training squats and Romanian deadlifts. And then when I'm about 3 months away from a contest, or that has a deadlift in it, I will then start hammering out my deadlifts, basically putting together everything I've been working on outside of deadlifts to have my deadlift blast up. And it's always worked, for me at least, that my numbers shoot way up after I've taken a long break from deadlifts and just focused on my leg strength and back strength separately, and then put it all together. Now the way I'll go about that basically is basically to know that when that switchover should happen. Well, like I said, when it's in a contest, that's when I get ready for deadlift. Otherwise, I'm focusing on squats within a 6-month periodization, linear periodization that leads up to a heavy squat at the end, and then I might switch over to deadlifts for 3 months. So it might be a 9-month process for me to actually get up to peak in the deadlift, and then rinse and repeat. So when I'm working my squats, I always pair them, pretty much always pair them with Romanian deadlifts thereafter with a pause. I'll do 1 month of very high repetitions where I'm just basically trying to see how much of a volume I could possibly work up to on squats with no equipment. I won't have any knee sleeves, won't have any belt, just basically iron out the motion with high repetitions, making sure that there's no, so to say, dark spots in the motion. So basically, if I feel like there's a kink where I start to slow down or a difficult spot in my motion, I'll actually do a tempo work and then really focus on slowing down around that area to add more time under tension there and for high repetitions. This will also strengthen my joints, my tendons, my ligaments, and prepare me to go heavier thereafter. So after about a month of really pushing myself to see how heavy of a weight I can get for 20 repetitions, I'll move on to a 10 to 12 repetition range for yet another month, adding pauses in on the bottoms, and also yet stay with that tempo work, about 3 seconds up in the motion, 3 seconds down, and adding a pause. So still very light weights, followed by Romanian deadlifts with about the same weight I use for a squat. With the Romanian deadlifts, also I do not touch the ground. I have to make sure my back is absolutely perfectly flat and that I pause just a couple inches above the ground and then drive back up. What this does is it really loads up the hamstrings and teaches you to create that back tension that's required to launch out of the hole in a deadlift. So after a month of about 10 to 12 repetitions, again, the periodization continues, 8 to 12 range, again, just about 3 sets per motion, nothing crazy. And my frequency is actually very low. I only hit it about once a week. Then fourth month in, I'm sorry, 6 to 8 repetitions. 5 months in, now I'm going on to a 5x5 and more of a powerlifting approach. And my Romanian deadlifts actually still stay at three sets, but my squats are up at around 5 sets. Again, just working, seeing how heavy a weight I could get up to for a consistent 5x5. Moving on from there, I start to, then this is the portion where I start to incorporate deadlifts, possibly, depending on the contest. Sometimes I wait until 6 months in, but oftentimes around 5 months, I'll start to dabble a little bit, in the sense that now I start overloading my system. I'll start reintroducing deadlifts just by working 80% of what my previous max might have been, just for triples, nothing crazy. And and my frequency goes way up. I go from training squats once a week to training squats and deadlifts both 4 times a week. I'll be working 2 motor skill acquisition days, basically just working with light weights, practicing the motion. One day where I go overload, which is just taking, like for a deadlift, for example, I'll load up to a weight that's about 110% of my previous max, pick it up off the rails, and see if I can lower it to the ground in about 10 to 15 seconds for 4 to 6 sets of that. Followed by speed reps or partial reps, something where, like wherever I feel weak point or a slowdown in the motion, I'll just do partial repetitions in specifically that spot. And I'll do the same thing for squats and whatever overhead motion I have programmed as well. And so once I'm done with that, it's basically 3 months of just working within a 1 to 3 repetition range, just slowly getting heavier, decreasing the amount of sets I do until the last month right before the actual contest. I'll really start to try out my maxes or get close to them. I'll probably work up to 95% of what I project my maximum should be. And then on contest day, that's when I hit my maximum deadlift. So moving on, my previous max was 970 pounds. I hit that in World's Strongest Man 2017. Ever since then, I went through a pec tear and a lat tear, so it's just been a battle of trying to get my strength back up. I've been staying on the lighter end of things and doing lots of lat pull downs, pull-ups and rows just to get my lat to feel confident again. And I'm right about that point where I'm ready to blast up those numbers and see if I could pull that 1,000 pounds before the year's end. It's gonna happen, I'm sure it will. And it's just a matter of getting my squats stronger and my accessories stronger around it. And when I feel ready, I'm going to be pulling those heavy numbers again. Ooh, another interesting note, I noticed a lot of, I meant to say this earlier, a lot of strongmen will do rack pulls and swear by rack pulls. That's something I've actually stayed away from, because I've personally believed to kind of milk whatever weight you're on and to stay away from, I only like to overload my body 1 to 2 months a year. And rack pulls I consider an overloaded motion. Essentially, by pulling a weight from a higher level, you're able to pull much heavier weights, which overload your nervous system, overload your muscular skeletal system, and just tear apart your body. So I like to stay away. I'd do the opposite, which is like rather go towards working deficits or raw motions, something that challenges my body and forces me to go with lighter weights. The thing is, if I could make a light weight as challenging as a heavy weight, it's healthier for my body, and I get the same results essentially as if I were just to push and pull with heavier motions that allow me to overload those heavy weights. So again, rack pulls, I could count on my hands how many times I've done rack pulls. I stay away from them just because they overload the body too much, and I like to take a long, steady route rather than just trying to push that or pull that weight as soon as possible. Patience is truly the key here. Allow your body to slowly grow into it, and be willing to pull back the weights. Be willing to step back, reassess what your weaknesses in your motions might be, and attack those until you're confident in every single inch of the motion, such as a deadlift. So if you guys have any questions, please comment below. I'll be sure to get back to you. I love talking about deadlifts and all the ways to get it up. Just let me know.